Greetings, this is Fallon Heart. Second time recording because, of course, in the middle of my first recording, the fucking phone went off and now I have to go out and do something else because I can't just sit anymore and do things. But yeah, that's actually part of the reason for this. So, essentially, it came to my attention recently that, this YouTube channel is basically a live stream channel now, where I just live stream gameplay. Believe it or not, I do still record vlogs and rant videos and all that kind of thing to get it out my system, but they just don't get uploaded. Or if they do, they're very quickly deleted or made unlisted and then later on deleted. Because, to be perfectly honest, I've been trying to move away from it. The problem is, I do think I have a little bit of an addiction to it. Because I'm artistic. It is within my nature to be very analytical and a little obsessive. And I am fully aware that I talk about the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over a fucking again. To the point where I know I am pissing annoying to a lot of people. Right? Now, generally speaking, I can read people in person at least very well. And I do believe that this has come from anxiety. I think it's a defensive mechanism. If I can read people well, then I can ascertain their intentions, and any fuck up that I might have done, I can pick up quite right away. I have no idea how I do it, but I have seen results of me being right about people numerous times now. Like, it's a consistent thing. This isn't like once or twice and I think a line is a pattern. No, this is consistent. I have come to realize that I actually read people quite well, to a weird degree. But again, I don't think it's this superpower or anything like that. I do believe it's one of these things that's come out of anxiety or something like that. I think it's a defensive mechanism. And I can pick up when I'm being annoying, which is quite a bit. And it's not just me projecting, because it happens when I get too passionate about something. I go off on one too much. And for years, I have been trying to rein that in, right? That's not the only thing this triggers with. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. I can just pick up on things, and I don't know how I do it. I just can. But I've been trying to rein in my ranting and my obsessive nature when it comes to certain things, because as pessimistic as it might sound, it's not changing. Some of the things that I have issues with have been issues for as long as you can think. They're just, at this point, just elements of humanity. I'm not changing it. And it doesn't matter how much I rant about it, it's not changing. But I think the biggest positive in my perception change has been the community walks I go on, as well as talking with people while walking the dogs. I've come to realize that, now this may be a cultural thing, but I've come to realize that there are a lot of people out here, or out there in general, who are on the same page. The big difference is I'm more likely to be open about it than most people. That's the big difference. A lot of people shy away from various topics. Because a lot of people care more about social credit. They care more about fitting in with the group. Now, me being an artistic fuck, I don't. I have lost friendships in the past due to this, because I refused to bend over backwards for someone else's outlook that I didn't agree with. Now, this doesn't mean that I can't be friends with people who have different opinions to me. I can. But it really comes down to whether they can. If they can't, I'm not changing. If I do not think it is something that I need to change about myself, I'm not changing. If it is something that I feel like I need to change about myself, I'm probably already trying to work on it, such as the ranting, right? And it's something I've struggled with for a long time. And I know I've got better at it, because anyone that's been watching this channel for a long time, or anyone that's known me for a long time, knows that I've changed quite a bit over the years. but there are certain core aspects of who I am that have remained the same. I can be argumentative, very much so. I am very stubborn, and I can be obsessive and not let things go. Talking to a friend recently, like the thing that sticks out about me to him is the fact that I will basically not back down. You know, and he's put it as, he views it as both a positive and a negative by the sounds of it, where it's like, I am the ideal person somebody wants in their corner when they want somebody to defend them, because I will not fucking back down if I think I'm in the right. It won't happen. I'm not gonna say, you know, I'm not, if I think I'm in the right and this person is in the wrong, then I will not back down. The difference is that very rarely do I think I am 100% in the right and they're 100% in the wrong. One of the most consistent things on this channel is me talking about nuance and me talking about piggy in the middle stuff and anti-tribalism, because it gets very frustrating. Again, this is one of the things I talk about all the fucking time. But when you look at YouTube, you look at social media in general, and you look at mainstream media in general, you notice the same through lines. The media says something, everyone starts talking about that thing, a lot of people add that thing as a part of their identity and where their alignment falls on, and most of the time people's alignment fall on it based on their already established political alignment. If they're left wing, they will instantly believe this thing. If they're right wing, they will instantly believe that thing. And then people will argue about it online until the media stops getting enough clicks from it. They move on to something else, and then everyone forgets about the old topic and they move on to the new. See Ukraine, for example. Nobody talks about it anymore because everyone's moved on to Hamas versus Israel. Same people that really, really cared about the Ukrainians, really, really cared about this and that, now no longer talk about it because they've moved on to the next big thing that they really, really care about. And it's tiring. It's very, very tiring because it's like watching a puppet play. And people just engage in it all the time. And you really notice how the algorithms work. You really, really notice, especially when you do what I've done recently and have gone on a massive cull of my social media to try and like alter it and see what I see. There's a lot that has changed in what I see. In fact, when I got rid of a lot of the, shall we say, what is typically associated, I don't think it is inherently right-wing, but what is typically associated with the right wing, once I got a lot of that, I actually started getting a lot of the opposite side of things. Because, oh, well, you've got rid of a bunch of right-wing stuff, so you must be left-wing now. Here's a bunch of left-wing propaganda being shoved in your face instead. I'm like, what? See, I am left-wing, but I really do not kind of agree with the modern left. I think they're batshit insane. But I also think the right is batshit insane, but in the way it always has been. There are two sides of the same coin. And which one is bad or not depends entirely on what area of power they have. And if they have power in an area, they're typically bad. But the internet is full of algorithms. It's full of bias, and it's full of extremes. And the media is full of bias. It's full of extremes, and it's all about getting your attention. It's all about pushing whatever narrative the side of politics wants to push, or whatever their corporate backers want them to push. And even like in the case of the BBC, where they're funded by the public, they're not advertisement free. They advertise to you all the time in pretty much everything they do. It's just their own advertisements, their own politics, all that kind of thing. It's still the same bullshit. But I have found that whilst talking to people out there in the real world, while touching grass, that this is not, being frustrated with this is the majority opinion. And it doesn't matter what side of politics you fall into. It's actually come to the point where if somebody does get fucking batshit crazy over this kind of topic, you can tell that they've come from the internet. And I've been that person. And realizing that makes me want to change. I want to move away from it because real people, they're more balanced. They actually agree with my outlook in a lot of ways. Even if they slide one way or more the other way, the core of it is something everyone can agree with for the most part. There's the odd one, but for the most part, everyone can agree with. And yeah, it's very, very easy to see where people get their information from because they will have some people will have very high emotional reactions to certain things. For example, during the walks, there was one guy that showed up who was making jokes about being a Russian spy. He was actually from Ukraine, but certain people immediately discredited him and started a political debate. He was joking. And there's a lot of people out there that deal with bullshit by laughing about it and joking about it. Doesn't mean they actually think it's funny. It's just how they cope. The guy was from Ukraine. And because this was a guy that shook the boat a little bit, started making Russian spy jokes, that is a guy that got my interest. So I spoke to him. He was from the Ukraine, and his family had a history in France, I think, if I remember correctly. Really nice guy, very funny. He's got the typical sense of humor from that side of the world. And if you're not familiar with that style of humor, it comes across as quite abrasive, maybe even offensive. But I like it. I know that it's humor, but a lot of people don't. And yeah, he's never come again. Probably because that response. But if people actually took the time to actually speak with him, rather than going in the usual political bullshit, because the television told them the right opinion, they'd realize the truth. But fuck that. Politics. And if this guy was the kind of person to make these kind of jokes online, nobody would listen. That would be the exact kind of thing, that would be the exact outcome he'd have. There's a hair there that's bugging me. All of this to say is that I have been trying to stop engaging in the clown show. To stop engaging in the people on this side screaming against the people on this side screaming and no one ever fucking listening. Because I would be lying if I told you that I haven't been that person before, where I've just reacted without thinking. Because I have, on many occasions. I'd like to think I'm above it, but I'm not. And it's so tiring, because it's endless. And the thing about touching grass, getting out there and speaking with your local community and talking with basic people a lot, is you do realize that they actually care about the core points, but the internet is too much. They also hate the mainstream media. They also hate the BBC. Pretty much everyone in this country hates the BBC. They hate both sides of politics. Left, right, doesn't matter. So maybe my outlook is a very cultural one to the area I'm in. Maybe I've been influenced and I've not even realized it. But yeah, maybe it's just that. Maybe if I go to different parts of the world, I'll have a different experience. But if that's the case, then I'm going to be very proud of being from Liverpool. I'll tell you that much. But, yeah, a lot of the people around here are on the same page. Doesn't matter whether they're left or right, they're all on the same page. Some minor details may change, but the core, everyone's on the same page. When you step away from the bullshit from the media, the mainstream or alt, people are on the same page. This is a game people are playing to get people's attention, to sell people products, to sell people politics. That's all this is. We're being played. And you look at things and you realize there's a lot of things playing us all the time. Certain foods that are super healthy now, we'll realize later on down the line were just an advertisement campaign. Certain things that you absolutely need in your life, advertisement campaign. Certain things that's going to forever change our country. This is the end of Western civilization as we know it. Same kind of thing. Now, this doesn't mean be complacent. because freedom of speech is a right what we're always going to need to fight for. Human rights are things that we're always going to need to fight for. And quite often these things, the core point of these things get lost in this insane, clown fiesta. So the point of these things, this is not something we should be complacent about, go and just accept that the world is crazy. But at the same time, you have to be careful not to lose yourself whilst arguing for the point, because it is very, very easy to fall down that same crazy rabbit hole whilst trying to remain on point. And I'll tell you from experience, it's hard. Because the fact is, if you're someone like myself, who is not a straight line left or right person, regardless of what they actually identify as. I identify as left-wing, but I'm not going to agree with a lot of left-wingers. If you're not somebody who could be hardlined as left or right, you have a much lower, a much weaker voice. Because you're not going to be picked up by the algorithms, because the algorithms are going to be confused by you. And you're not going to have much of a following or people listening to you, because they can't really pigeonhole you in the tribe or that of the enemy. So, yeah, because people are fucking stupid online. And algorithms play into it as well. You just have a lesser notice. And because of this, we see more and more and more of the insane asylum, because they are the ones that get the attention. They are the ones that have the backing behind them, because people don't like to think, they just want to join a tribe. And this is something I've said numerous times, because quite frankly, thinking is difficult. The more you think, the more you realize you do not have answers. There is no right answer for a lot of this stuff, and that's not comforting. That's why people like hardline black and white answers, because it's easy. They get to believe that they're right without the legwork. Because the more you actually think about things, the more you realize that you do not fucking know. And that's not comfortable. And again, the more you think about things, you realize how many things both sides have wrong, and that's not going to win you any friends. Because most people want a yes or no answer. Now, when you speak to people outside of these algorithms that spend more time talking to people, you realize people are a lot more like myself. They actually are nuanced. They aren't so black and white. They can't easily be pigeonholed. It's only really the people that get swept away by this political culture, be it terminally online or constantly watching the news on television or reading it in the paper. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. A lot of people like to shit on one whilst accepting the other. No, they're both as bad as each other. And in certain ways, one's worse than the other. It really depends on context. But yeah, it really is. It's just insanity. And it's insanity because that's how these systems are built. It's not natural. It's not remotely natural. That is just how these systems are built. And I don't really want to be a part of it anymore. Fact is that if you want to know my opinion on anything, just ask me. I'm going to be honest about it. Certain topics I might be a bit weaselly about how I talk about it, because I live in Britain, and hate speech laws in this country are quite frankly terrifying. There was a girl in my very city a few years ago that was arrested on hate speech charges because she posted rap lyrics on Twitter in like a memorial thing for her friend that died. The rap lyrics contained the word nigger. Thus, she was saying she was speaking hate speech. Now, there's a reason why I said the full word there and didn't just say the N-word. Because that's what the lyrics said. A lot of people will jump on that and they'll go, oh, this is a white person saying the word nigger without blinking. He must be a racist. I'm really not. In fact, I know from experience I'm not. I've been told that I'm actually... that I was chosen over other people to speak to because I have less of that. I'm less likely to prejudge someone. I talk to everyone the same way. I know from experience I'm not that. But again, and any reasonable person will know that as well, it's a fucking word. It's not, I'm not calling anyone it. I'm not saying it with venom. And here's the thing. Any fucking word out there can be hateful if said with venom. You're a nice guy. Oh, aren't you perfect? Doesn't that sound horrible? Doesn't that sound condescending? You're the greatest person I've ever met. It doesn't matter what you say. Anything can be hateful if said with venom. This is why we've got a new slur every few weeks. Because when one stops being effective, we say a new one. And then we keep creating these buzzwords and they stop popping up, like incel's a big one right now. And they go in a cycle. Soy boy, incel, feminazi, social justice warrior, fucking cuck. It just goes on a cycle. And it's the same shit. And eventually these words lose their meaning and then we come up with a new one or we abuse a new one and it just keeps going. But ultimately it's all the same. But yeah, just ask me what I think about something and I'll tell you. And quite often my take will be a case of I'll play devil's advocate on things. I will find myself somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I do have biases against certain things. I have biases against religion. Some religions more than other, but I do have biases against religion. I have biases against politicians, against the police, against big business. Can you tell I'm left-wing? But I'm aware that I have these biases, so I try and keep that in check. You know, and yeah, if you want to know what my opinion is on anything, just ask me. The best time to ask me would be during one of my Wednesday streams. And yeah, I'll be honest. It actually came up during one of the recent ones where the trans topic came up, and I tried to be cautious around it because again, I live in the UK and hate speech laws in this country are fucking terrifying. And it doesn't matter how you say something. If you say something that could be perceived as negative to certain kinds of people, you risk getting into a lot of shit. It doesn't matter whether it is negative. It doesn't matter how it's said. It doesn't matter how nuanced it is. If you do not say the correct response dictated by the media and certain political opinions, you could be in trouble. And it's worrying. So I do try and avoid it a little bit. But thankfully, I am a tiny YouTuber. So I'm probably not going to be noticed. So it should be okay. But again, that girl that posted rap lyrics several years ago, she was just a student. Nothing too big. The wrong person saw it and made it their personal mission to get them punished for it, regardless of context. She was mourning her friend in a way a young girl would. She used the wrong word, so that was pure hate, apparently. You know, it's the way things are going, because ultimately speaking, much like with the people that completely forgot about Ukraine and now they've moved on to Israel versus Hamas, the Ukraine was the most important issue of our day. They really cared about the Ukrainian people. They really, really cared. Anyone that didn't care was just a Putin supporter. Every moment of every day needed to be dedicated to helping and supporting and saying good things online about the Ukrainian people. Now they've completely forgot about the Ukrainian people and they've moved on to Hamas or Israel. If they're left-wing, they're probably supporting Hamas, which is hilarious to me because a lot of them are Muslim, and Muslims don't tend to very much like the LGBT. And then, if you're right-wing, you'll probably be supporting Israel, which again is hilarious to me because, well, the Nazis. So it's just like, yeah, and how many right-wing conspiracy theorists blame everything on the Jews? So it's a clown show. But Ukraine doesn't matter anymore. That's old news. Their lives don't matter anymore. We've moved on to the new things. Now Hamas or Israel, this is the big issue. And in a few months' time, the news will report on something else. And all these people that really, really, really care about these people will move on to them instead and completely forget about them. And it's all the same types. Disingenuous. It's not about giving a shit about people. It's about looking virtuous. It's about holding moral power and just general power over other people. That's what it's about. These people don't give a flying fuck about other human beings. It's all about what they can personally gain from it. And it's tiring. And I don't want to be associated with these people. So I've kind of been shying away from a lot of this. Because, quite frankly, fuck it. I don't get anything out of it but stress. I still hold the same opinions. I've still held pretty much the same kind of opinions I have for years. I still hold the same opinions. I will still argue in favor of human rights that I believe in when it comes up. Again, you know, but I'm trying to move away from a lot of it because it achieves nothing but stressing me out and, quite frankly, making myself look like a dickhead. Because if you ever see the kind of shit that I've posted on Twitter, honestly, Twitter brings out the worst in people, myself included. People will get a fucking terrible impression of me if they see the kind of shit that I've posted on Twitter. And while that is me, it's a fucking terrible version of me. And I'd rather put my best foot forward, not my worst. So I have been trying to move away from this kind of thing. I've been trying to get less ranty. I've been trying to get less obsessive. I've been trying to get less argumentative. And in a lot of ways I have, but I'm still not at the point where I'm happy with myself. So it's still something I'm gonna... And a lot of this is fighting against my nature. It really is. It's fighting against my nature, because when I see something that I believe is unjust, I find it difficult to just drop it. However, this past year I've had various experiences that has shown me that I am in fact a good person. And I can say that without issue at this point. I'm a good person. In fact, I will go above what most people will, because I can't let this shit drop. And I tell you, it's nice applying it to reality. Rather than just sitting in this chair or fucking around on my phone and arguing with twats online, actually doing something that is good for someone else, of which I've had a few experiences of that this year, it feels good. It feels far more rewarding and far more impactful than just arguing with people online. No one gives a fuck. No one outside the internet and these obsessive little circles give a fuck. Now, the core of the ideas, people will. But they have to be applied in the right way. And that is what I am going to be trying to do going forward. I'm going to be trying to apply this more in real life, in a more natural, non-ranty way. Wish me luck. But yeah, I suppose you could say I'm more confident in where I stand. You know, I'm fully aware of the dangers of UK politics and the hate speech systems and things like that. So I am aware of that. But yeah, I don't want to look at myself and go, you're a twat. I've enjoyed being a troll before. I've enjoyed being a snarky bitch, but I've recently found a group on Facebook that is just wholesome shit posting. It's just dumb shit posting. And that enables me to get out my kind of trolley, impish little bit of nature by posting dumb shit on that. A lot of people find it funny. Pretty much every meme that I've posted over there has gone really well. A lot of people find it really funny. I get my trollish nature out of me in a way that is amusing to people rather than irritating. And that's what I mean. I just have to apply this bullshit in the correct way. You know, if I want to be a bit kooky or silly, well, I will do so in a way that's more constructive, more appreciated. You know, that I think that's what I'm going to aim to do going forward. Again, I'm still going to care about the same things I always have cared about. I just don't want them to consume me, which they have in the past. And again, you've noticed a lot less vlog-style videos on my YouTube channel because I don't want to keep buying into it. So even if I'm ranting about it, if I'm not putting it out there, if I'm not shoving it in the face of anyone else, and it's just getting it out my system and then moving on with my life, then I think that's better. It's like a video version of writing a letter and then destroying it. That is out of my system at that point. And then quite often I'll look back at it and go, you were not very eloquent here. You didn't get your point across very well. You just came across as a bit of a dick. Or, yep, I've said this exact same thing a billion times before. I don't need to say it again. Which is why I've done that a little bit in this video, but I've tried to skip over that as quickly as possible when I have, such as the tribal thing. Because I've said it. You guys know. You know, it's... Do you need to hear it another 20 billion times? You know, you guys know. So yeah, I don't get as much positive stuff out of that shit anymore. I mostly just get negatives. And I found conversing with people on these community walks that I go with gives me the same kind of release, but in a far more constructive way. Because yeah, I have come to realize that my takes on a lot of these things are appreciated and not unique to me. They're actually more common than you'd think. I might have a different way of speaking about them. I might have a different way of processing them. And again, being the analytical minded person I am, not to say I'm intelligent, because I'm not. I just give people the impression that I'm smarter than I actually am, put it that way. And it's because of how I talk and how I think. But that doesn't equate to intelligence. You know, it's like people who use the word inebriated. That doesn't mean they're more intelligent than the people who use the word drunk or stoned. It just means that they know a word that is not commonly used. And that sounds more intelligent to people who haven't really heard that word before. You know, you know, it's one of those. It's like I sound more intelligent than I am because I don't process things in a very typical way. But again, that's probably just the autism. And that's kind of all it is. You know, I guess I'm done. I get nothing out of it. I'm finding more positive outlets in real life. And I do think that the change in me is pretty obvious at this point. I'm still the same person. That ranty core is still there. I've got friends who have seen it, but I am really, really trying to not be that person. I am trying to not be ranty. I am trying to not talk until the cows come home. But it's difficult because these are parts of my nature and they are parts that I want to change, but again, it's difficult. So yeah, so far I've not really done much bullshit in terms of vlogging for a while. I have posted bullshit on like Twitter and Facebook, but again, nowhere near what I used to. So slow progress. Slow, minor, but progress all the same. So yeah, a vlog about why I don't really do vlogs that much anymore. And another factor I'll cover right here is the mental health stuff. It's funny because mental health is far more casually talked about these days than it used to be. And I currently find it harder to talk about. I don't know why, but I find it harder to talk about. I think an element of it is because I hold myself better these days and I look better these days. I'm keeping up appearances. And so even when things are going to shit behind the scenes and I really want an outlet, I don't really do it publicly as much anymore because I want to keep up appearances, I suppose. Because if I record it and upload it, it's real. But if it's something that is not recorded and uploaded, then it's something that happened in a moment and it's past now. You know what I mean? I don't know. Plus I know I have family that watch this YouTube channel now, and I have family that are insane levels of worry. So when they see me go down a little bit, they worry, not realizing that happened quite frequently for a long time, but because I don't have my mother anymore, I think it hits them harder. So it's like, oh, what's he gonna do? Nothing. I've got no plans of exiting anytime soon. I've got too many people to annoy. I'm too stubborn for that. But no, it's I don't want to worry people, and I do want to keep up an appearance, and I want to look at my YouTube video channel, right? I want to look at my uploads, and I want to see some level of progress, some level of improvement, right? But which is why, typically speaking, I will post when I'm having a mental health high, rather than mental health low these days, because that's the shit that I want to remember. I want to remember the highs, not the lows. Even if the lows are more frequent. The highs are what I want to remember. So, yeah. I have found myself become more spiritual these days. And I have found myself leaning into philosophies that I've always kind of held. And I do think they're having a positive effect on me. You be the judge. Anyway, this has been over half an hour. I've ranted. Now, I have to do that fucking thing, because this is my life now. I can never just sit. You've just sat for half an hour talking about the same shit. Shut up, I know. I've got a hell of a lot more time than a lot of other people. I'm aware. But I have less time than I used to. And it bugs me. But no, I do quite a bit for certain family members, and as I am out all the time, even when I would like to have days where I'm not, or I'm talking to people on the phone. And yesterday was a lot of that, and I'm hoping this is just a small little bit of it. But anyway, I'm going to upload this because this is one that I do actually want to upload, and I'm going to get a few things done. And then hopefully I can come back, I can chill out for a little bit,